Hi, I'm Troy. I'm one of the owners of SawTown Tavern, and right now the coronavirus has us closed. So we've still got to eat, and we've talked about doing cooking videos for a long time. So we're going to call this one the first episode of Hunkered Vegans. Join me in the kitchen. So what we're going to do is make a simple pasta Puttanesca. It's Charles' favorite Italian dish. It's one of my favorite to make because it comes together in a snap. It's delicious, full of flavor, salty. It's accidentally vegan if you make it without anchovies. Some recipes call for the anchovies, some don't. So we're going to do one without anchovies. We're going to do one without real Parmesan cheese, which pasta Puttanesca doesn't need anyway. So the first thing we do is make what we call our Parmesan. Parmesan is made with raw cashew, about 3/4 of a cup, nutritional yeast, which is what gives it its cheesy flavor, about 3 tablespoons, about 3/4 of a teaspoon kosher salt, and a good 1/4 teaspoon of garlic powder. That's it. Draw it up. And there it is. That's Parmesan. So as I said, we don't really need this for the main dish, but Parmesan is a great topping. It tastes very much like Parmesan cheese. Some folks even like it better. And we're going to use it on our bruschetta, which is our first course, and we'll probably put a little bit on our green salad as well. For our bruschetta, I've taken about 7 Roma tomatoes and chopped them up. Now, winter tomatoes are not the best, so we're going to need to season this a little bit more than maybe we would if these were really good, ripe summer tomatoes. So I've got a couple of tricks. One of the things I like to do is chop in a roasted pepper. We're going to add a half of a white onion. We're going to take, I'm cheating. I said this was going to be a fast meal, and it is. So I'm using jarred garlic. And we're going to use a generous tablespoon or so of garlic. Salt. We use a little bit of ground pepper. Balsamic vinegar. Until it looks right. That's how Manny always cooked. That's how I cook. Now, I did about 1 whole chopped roasted red pepper. It's going to add some nice flavor. So last but not least, a little extra virgin olive oil. We're going to stir this up. We're going to let it set and macerate. And we're going to come back with just some fresh basil in that when we dress our toast. This is your bruschetta. Now, I've taken a loaf of Italian bread. This one happens to be seeded. Yours doesn't have to. We're going to basically fry the bread in olive oil with a light coating of olive oil on both sides so it's nice and toasty, and then we'll be ready to dress our bruschetta. Okay, so as I said, fry the bread. It's just some warm olive oil on the pan. I'm going to get nice, both sides nice and brown, crisp. This will be our appetizer tonight. And we're going to serve this with a simple salad. And we're going to put put that together next. We let that fry. It doesn't take long before your bread starts to get a nice brown to it. Let's flip it over in the pan. Let the other side get done. Don't worry, I mean, if it's a little spotty like that, don't worry about it. Look at that. Beautiful golden brown. That's going to be a delicious brisket. So, one of the things to keep in your kitchen is a really good pair of kitchen shears. I find it for things like herbs, it's invaluable. Because I want to do a chiffonade, and I actually don't have a great knife right now. I don't need one. All I did was roll the leaves. Cut them in half. Now I'm getting the beautiful ribbons of fresh basil. Really quickly, really easily. And I just think fresh basil is, I mean, it's wonderful, it smells great, and it's really an important part of a good bruschetta. If they're not all perfect, they're not all perfect. Well, the bruschetta is ready to top our bread. Bruschetta is a really simple appetizer, so I love to have it ready and put it out while I finish making the sauce. There are a lot of good wild salad dressings available now, but I usually make my own. It's fast, it's economical, and I frankly think it tastes better. So, lots of ways to do this, none of them right or wrong. We're going to take red wine vinegar, about a tablespoon and a half or so. I've got a half a lemon. Fresh lemon, juice and zest. That's our acid right there. More garlic. A good teaspoon. And a good pinch of salt. Black pepper. About a quarter cup of chopped fresh parsley. Now, I usually use Dijon if I have it. If not, yellow mustard works just fine. About a teaspoon. And then we're going to do about a tablespoon of maple syrup. Right there. I like a little bit of sweet in my dressing. You may not. Let's do a pinch. Just a pinch of crushed red pepper. To that, we're going to stream our olive oil. About a half a cup or so. That's it. Taste it and adjust it. Doesn't need a thing. I'm going to make a simple green salad. It's got some beautiful arugula, some fresh spring mix. All this is pre-packaged, pre-washed. It makes it simpler. We're going to use some red and green pepper, some English cucumber, and some white onion. I love onion in a salad. Everyone doesn't. You can put it to the side if you prefer. But when I'm making a salad ahead of time and I'm dressing it as I serve it, which is what we're going to do today, I like to add the onion. How you do your cucumber is entirely up to you. I tend to like folks not to have to cut their salad. English cucumber, my father used to call these herbless cucumbers. And about a half a cucumber is going to be plenty. Now when I cut a pepper, I do a couple of things. I take the ends off. I usually wind up eating them. Go in half. It makes it so much easier to cut out all of the seeds and stems. Just like that. And then decide how you like your pepper. This is a good way to cut a pepper and make sure that you get nice, even pieces. And if you're cooking the pepper, that's especially important. But I just think it's prettier in a salad. And I'm going to do the same thing with this half and some green pepper. So that's it. It's a simple salad. I'm going to toss it right before we eat with the vinaigrette that we made, a little herb vinaigrette. Next, we're going to get ready to do our pasta puttanesca. Puttanesca is a very fast sauce to make. Once you drop your pasta in the boiling water, your sauce comes together in minutes. By the time the pasta's cooked, you have dinner. So I just wanted to go over the ingredients. I used diced tomatoes. I keep them with their juice. Capers, olives. I think it's important you use a good olive. Kalamata olives are great. These are pitted Kalamata olives. I just gave them a rough chop. I used a whole jar. Now, you can get creative, and I like to. I like some marinated artichoke, and I also enjoy garbanzo beans. It adds a little layer of protein to the puttanesca. I think it pairs really well with the other elements of the sauce. That's it. Salt and pepper. Crushed red pepper. That's it. These are the ingredients to a great puttanesca, and then we dress our pasta with it. Puttanesca starts silent. Just let it get fragrant before we start to build the sauce. And that's about a tablespoon, which is about 6 cloves of garlic. Diced tomatoes, again with their juice. The olives and capers that we talked about. As I said, my own addition, a can of chickpeas, drained, and the whole little jar of marinated artichoke parts, just roughly chopped. Puttanesca is a simple, beautiful sauce. It wasn't named that until the 1960s, though the recipes that included olives and capers go back a lot longer than that. And the idea is in the style of a prostitute, in that it's that notion that you can make this sauce in between tasks. Or jobs. just gonna season that up. Salt. Crushed red pepper as you like it. Now, usually I do get this fragrant in the olive oil along with the garlic, but this is going to sit for a minute, so that'll happen anyway. And that's it. That's Puttanesca sauce. As soon as our pasta is ready, we'll toss it with the sauce, and it'll be ready to serve. I like to finish this dish with fresh herbs. So we've got a little fresh basil, a little fresh parsley. You can use either or neither. I have thrown some dried herbs in, and I've also skipped it altogether. It's such a lovely fresh dish that when I have the fresh herbs, it makes it beautiful. And the sauce is ready. We're just waiting on the pasta. And that's pasta puttanesca, full of flavor and ready to serve. I love a simple dessert. So later, we've got some non-dairy ice cream I'm going to scoop out. I'm going to just slice up some strawberries. I'm going to dress them with a little chambord. So we've got the raspberry-strawberry combination going on. And that'll be our dessert. So I wanted to film this for a couple of reasons. We've talked about doing some films around the food that we eat and serve or plan to serve, and making it accessible. And I think that cooking is an essential skill. I first learned cooking at my grandmother's knee, and she was a very frustrating cook because she never wrote anything down, and she didn't measure, and everything was by hand. And I tell the story sometimes about cucumber salad because I just tried to write that recipe down when I was 9 or 10 years old. And I said, you know, I want to write this down. I want to write a recipe because I loved cookbooks. My whole life I've loved reading cookbooks. And I advise you do it because one of the things you learn, at least by osmosis, is what do you need less of? What do you use more of? When you start to see that, you know, a recipe calls for a quarter or a half of a teaspoon of something, it's usually because that's a strong flavor. If it calls for a tablespoon or a half a cup, it's less so. And you start to kind of unlock the math of it all in the art of cooking. And I remember asking her, you know, let me write this down. How many cucumbers do you use? And she said, how many do you have? Because that's how she cooked. And I said, well, what if we have 3? Okay. And I said, all right, so how much onion? And she said, how big are the cucumbers? And that is how my grandmother cooked. She cooked for however many people might be at the table and the few that weren't there that could show up. She cooked based on what ingredients were available. So we chose this recipe as a first recipe because it's that kind of thing. If you've stocked a pantry, Puttanesca is something that you can usually make. You might not have the fresh herbs to add at the end, but you usually have the dry herbs to sprinkle or not. It's such a flavorful dish. It's very forgiving. And you start to learn with the end result how to get there. So I purposely didn't include measurements. I purposely did this by hand, and we're going to do some others that are going to be similar. Because I think one of the greatest things we can learn is how to cook, how to nourish one another, how to sustain life. And there is an art to that. And we're at a time and a place right now where we don't know what's going to happen. We don't know that filling the pantry is going to do us any good. But we should be very, very thankful that we can fill our pantries. And we're filming these videos as a way to stay connected. In these times where we're being forced to do what unfortunately we've been doing as a society for quite some time, is, we're distanced and we're connected through electronics, but we're not connected personally. Cooking is something that's intimate. Eating is something we need to do at least once a day if we can, and hopefully more. So I hope that you enjoy the recipes. They're not recipes. I hope that you see that this meal actually came together in less than 30 minutes. And it's possible to continue to nourish ourselves and celebrate our traditions and celebrate our love for one another without using animal products, without using meat. And at the end of the day, we can have a great meal and share a great meal.